Interestingly enough, if in fact we tempted to start with business or just start with family and not have a central core focus such as a vision, we'd end up all over the place. And your business might end up in the situation it's in now. It may cause chaos beyond your wildest dreams. So it's always important when looking at managing your family dynamics in a way to where you can have a foundation strong enough for business that you begin with a family vision. How do you do it? Where do you start with that? A family vision, it's usually drafted by the visionary of the family. Sometimes it's the mother, sometimes it's the father. It depends on the family dynamics. It may be that you're a single parent and you have to drive the direction for where you want your children to go, and you know where you don't want them to go, right? Well, this really needs to be documented in order to have core a strong core foundation for your business and your family. And you'll hear throughout this course, I'm going to say business and family and business. Because in this case, the familypreneur is all about how you could be one and the same. You could be a great family man or woman and at the same time transcend the way you manage your family into a great businessman or woman. And so that's really what this course is going to do for you. But certainly, it's going to heighten your awareness about the needs of the people in your household other than yourself. And it's going to also put you more in tune with the marketplace as you, as a family, build and create a business that will be functional, successful, and literally be more than just a one-dimensional idea that makes it money. So, as we go forward, a couple of things. First of all, before you do anything related to building a strong family, it's important to have a core vision, which you heard me mention a moment ago. The best way to build this or create this vision is, first of all, you got to do an internal look at the family dynamics. Who all's involved? You know, are there two daughters, one son, two sons, one daughter, one son? Is there your spouse and you plus them? What exactly is going on with everybody, and where do you want everyone to go? Do you know for a fact you don't want to spend most of your middle-aged years bailing your children out of jail and visiting your child in rehab, although those things can happen. But if you get an early enough start and you start with that vision from wherever you are, if you've already been doing it for years and doing it the wrong way, it's okay. Today, you're going to find out exactly what you can do to make up and leverage what you may have lacked in an early start. So, as we do this, you want to just do an internal investigation and take a look at the inventory in the household. Who do you have? I have a hyperactive son or daughter who really they're good people, but man, I want to make sure that when we have this family vision, whatever we're going to do as a family, it accommodates that youngster. Maybe you have one that's very academic and they need to be challenged quite often in order to continue to succeed. You want to make sure your family vision accommodates them. Perhaps you have a spouse who really requires an area he or she would like to get more education. They also want to thrive in their own career or their hobby. You want to make sure that your vision can accommodate everyone. I remember looking back, I don't know, like 25, 26 years ago, maybe 24, I don't remember. And when I began to learn principles about a proper foundation for a family unit, I wanted to plug it in. We would have, when my children used to live at home, we would have these family meetings. We'd get around the dinner table. We had a time when we called it devotional time, but we'd have a time when we'd talk over where we're going. And I made sure it included them. It was interestingly enough, by the time our children were old enough to have personalities, I knew they were so drastically different. So when we established our family vision, I alone had to go by myself because it was my role as the family leader of the household. Now, it may be that you're a woman or a man. You may be the family leader. It just doesn't, the family, I couldn't call it leader, but the person that drives the direction for where you're going. This is your responsibility, regardless of your gender. You want to establish the vision and then share it and cast it before the rest of the family. You want to do it the way a corporation will do. If a CEO and his executive team establish that vision, what they'll do is they'll go and then once it's refined and where they want it, they cast it before the vice presidents and the directors and managers and supervisors and then the entry level employees. What has to happen here, as you look at this idea of establishing your vision, you're going to want to do so. You by yourself, if you live alone, or you manage a household by yourself as the only adult, or you and your spouse, if in fact that is your situation. When you do so, I'm going to give you 3 methods for getting a draft vision down. The first one is very easy. The first one is after you do your internal look at everyone's needs, go out to a corporation, IBM, General Motors, or Walmart or something, and look up their site and go look up the About Us and look for the vision. See what it encompasses. And that's the first method. And in that method, you look at their idea and then you say, wait a minute, I could do this. I could do this for the family. It shouldn't be too tough. And you could kind of rewrite that model. This is just to get a draft. We're going to work on this a little bit later, but it's where we have to start before we can look at a mission or goals. Now, in looking at this vision, it's about where we want to go in the overall picture, not little milestones or the mission, but the overall goal is really what that vision's wrapped up around. So for me, when I started when my kids were young, my wife and I got together and talked about this, where we wanted everyone to go. We wanted to make sure as a family that in our household, we had certain behaviors that existed that would support that vision. So we didn't allow vulgarity in the household. We didn't allow negative conversations such as "I hate you" or 4-letter words that were, of course, against people or were considered curse words. We made sure that our rules for the behaviors established the right morale in the household, so we all can be successful at what we do. There was no we weren't allowed to tear each other down or fight certain behaviors. So we had established those behaviors, which a lot of people call those the core values. In fact, that's in the corporate world, that's what we use. We call them the core values. But a family has to have them of some type. Whatever yours are going to be, you need to establish them. So when you get to the overall goal, I knew that we wanted to be a family who contributed back as individuals and as a unit to the communities in which we lived. Some way. That's through volunteer service. That's through doing for others who are not doing as well. That was one of the things in our vision I wanted to include. Another one was to be free enough so we didn't have to feel guilty when someone had a need and we wanted to assist them. Nothing worse than hearing that someone's had a fire and they could use something, some help financially or with other things. And for you to say, oh, I haven't worked enough overtime this week and I can't do it. As a family, when you set out what your goals are, this overall vision, and you get it all down, you should be able to narrow it down into a paragraph or sentence or so that it can be easily adopted by the others. And I'm just going to mention a couple other things that we included in ours to just give you some ideas. It was important for us to, in our vision, to come up with creative ways to build financial strength in our household. And we wanted to make sure we could do so that wasn't reliant upon the system. Because my children were younger. I was very sick. I was hospitalized a lot. And I remember like yesterday being on welfare. I remember what it was like to need to qualify to get milk and cereal and eggs. And when you go to interview for the stuff, they treat you like you're the biggest criminal in the world. It was a humiliating experience and didn't want to be there long. So we wanted to create the financial security that would help us not to be in that situation again. Or if we were, we wouldn't be there long because we'd come up with new ways to get away from it. So those are some of the things you include. Now, whenever you're writing this vision out, remember, you got others that live in the household, and your vision has got to accommodate their needs of who they are as a person, what their individual goals are. It's got to make sure it doesn't exclude them or make it like it's not for them. Because your business that you do that's all by yourself, and you come back and tell them about it, There's not much interest in that. It's not a family business at all. So, so let me get to the methods. Number one, we talked about it. You can go to another corporation, look at how they written theirs, and just kind of get a model for how you write yours. No problem. A second way is you can do your internal investigation, to do your inventory in your household, and then begin to look at when you first got married, when you first got together, when you first started off with your spouse. What did you guys look at? And if you're alone, you can still do the same thing. What is it you wanted in the big picture for the next 20 years? What's that look like? And in that pathway of coming up with that hot list of what those are, be sure to accompany it with some behaviors in which you'll operate from, so there will be an internal compass, so that there's nothing that's going to pull you or distract you in either direction. Ha! Now that I said that, second way. Third, the third is quite simple. Now, there's not much going on with bookstores anymore, unfortunately. One of the things we did was go to a bookstore as well and look at successful families and look them up. Now you can look them up on Google, look up successful families or businesses, and then look at how they operated. See if you can identify what their vision was, or at least even read it in some cases. Look at a business or do your research by looking up a very successful family business and see what their vision was, and see if you can see if it looks like there were some ways that they tied that into their family unit, and then get some hot points. There are three methods for establishing your vision. I want you to take your time. There's no right or wrong, so just draft something.